As I showed in my latest video, the comic book company Image Comics blatantly copied some of Marvel's most famous characters. And when I say copied, I mean it. They were literally copies, with almost no differences between the characters. And since Image Comics has no shame, they did the same with DC characters. In the last video, I promised that I would bring the DC version of the most blatant copycats, and since I don't like to break my promises, here it is, the DC version of the most blatant copycats of DC characters. Mighty Man. In case you don't know Fred, let me introduce him. Fred is a boy who was on the brink of death, but moments before dying, two superheroes saved him by donating some of their powers. These two superheroes were Shazam and his sister, Mary Marvel. From that moment on, the innocent Fred also gained superpowers, and every time he said the name Captain Marvel, he became strong and gained superpowers identical to Shazam's. He is kind of a younger, weaker version of Shazam. Considering that Captain Marvel is part of the same publisher as Shazam and is even part of his stories, it's acceptable for them to make a mini copy of Shazam. But the fact that a character doesn't belong to their publisher never stopped Image Comics from copying characters from other publishers. And they certainly weren't going to stop now. So, they decided to create Mighty Man. His suit has several gold details. He also has a cape, and the most blatant part. He also has a symbol on his chest. But instead of a lightning bolt like Captain Marvel Jr., it's a star. But wait, it gets even better. In 2004, they changed his suit symbol. It stopped being a star. But instead of changing it to something creative and unique, they decided to change it to a symbol exactly like Captain Marvel Jr.'s. This must be a joke, right? Oh, and I forgot to mention that the powers of both characters come from an entity, and Mighty Man's powers are basically just like Captain Marvel Jr.'s powers. Supreme. And of course, it was obvious that Image Comics, aka the queen of blatant copies, would also copy the most copied and most successful superhero in the history of superheroes. Obviously, I'm talking about Superman. It would be a bit odd of them not to. Supreme was created specifically to be Image Comics Superman. Even the names are super similar. So if he was created to be Image Comics Superman, you can already imagine that he has super speed, can fly, has super strength, is invulnerable, and has super intelligence. But despite these similarities, in his early stories, he didn't behave much like Superman. He was very selfish and violent, characteristics that don't fit Superman. They did the obvious and easiest thing. They thought of copying the character, but, to avoid making him exactly the same, they simply took some characteristics of the character and changed them to their opposites. They are smart, I give them that. But this only lasted for a while, because they eventually decided that he needed to become more like Superman to achieve more success. So, after edition 41, he became more like the Silver Age Superman. Just like Superman's weakness is kryptonite, Supreme also has his kryptonite called supremium. And just as there are various types of kryptonite, there are also various types of supremium. Oh, and did I mention that just as Superman has a cousin, Supergirl, Supreme has his sister, Suprema, and just Superman has a super powerful dog, Supreme also has a super powerful dog, whose name is Radar, who also wears a red cape, just like Superman dog, Crypto. I guess they can't surprise me anymore. I am already used to Image Comics' way of doing business. They are no longer my kryptonite. Glory. Let's play tell and guess. I will give a description of a character, and you will try to guess who I am describing. It will be easy, I promise. She is a really powerful warrior who was born on an isolated island inhabited only by Amazons. She is the princess of the Amazons and was also trained her entire life to be a super powerful warrior. When she became an adult, she realized that the island where she lived was not the place where she wanted to spend the rest of her life. As a consequence of this thought, she left the island and went to the world of men, eventually getting involved in combat during World War II. Easy, right? This is a perfect description of Wonder Woman. But there's a small detail I need to tell you. I didn't just describe Wonder Woman, I also described Glory, a character from Image Comics. Yes, that's right. The description I just gave you perfectly fits Glory. Crazy, I know, but that's how Image Comics does business. Glory is half Amazon and half Demon Warrior. Originally, her story was 100% the same as Wonder Woman's. But fortunately, this only lasted until 2011. From 2011 onwards, Image Comics gained some common sense and must have realized that she was too identical to Wonder Woman. Now, finally, she has become a somewhat more original and unique character. Her powers now consist of having super strength, being able to teleport, being able to fly, and she is also immortal. At least in this case, it seems they realized the blatant copy they had made, because honestly, her first version could easily pass as Princess Diana's twin sister, or at least as a doppelganger from another universe. Seahawk. The worst nightmare for DC fans has become reality. You know that Image Comics already copied Wonder Woman and Superman, two of the leaders of the Justice League and two of the most important and famous DC characters ever. And now there's just one missing, and you know exactly who I'm talking about. I know you were disappointed, but it was inevitable. Batman is too good of a character not to be copied. And just like with Hulk, Image Comics didn't copy Batman just once, they did it twice. They divided the characteristics they wanted to copy from Batman between two characters because they couldn't use all of Batman's traits in one character without getting into legal trouble. In the case of Seahawk, I think I only need to show an image of the character, and that says it all. Don't you agree? Is there really anything more to say? I don't think so. With Seahawk, they chose to copy Batman's costume. Okay, fine. The character's origin story has nothing to do with Batman's, and he also has aquatic powers, which indeed have nothing to do with Batman. But as I said, they split Batman's characteristics between two characters. Shadowhawk. If you already thought Image Comics lacked creativity, now you'll be sure of it. Not only does Shadowhawk have a similar name to the copycat character, Seahawk, but his appearance also resembles that of Batman. But it's not similar enough to call him a copycat. Above all, what Shadowhawk has most in common with Batman is the way the character behaves in his stories. Shadowhawk prefers to operate at night. Just like who? Exactly. But instead of Gotham, it's New York. Kind of a mix between Batman and Spider-Man. And just like Batman, he also uses various gadgets to fight his enemies. Shadowhawk is definitely not the most blatant copy that Image Comics has ever done, but it's definitely a copycat. Bloodwolf. This one is probably the most blatant copycat on this list. It's so blatant that even Image Comics themselves admitted he is a copycat. He is a copycat like Deadpool. Just as Deadpool is a copycat of Deathstroke and makes fun of him, Bloodwolf also makes fun of Lobo. And in case you didn't know, Lobo means wolf in Portuguese. Deadpool and Bloodwolf are kind of parody characters. Bloodwolf shares every trait of Lobo. He is an alien, just like Lobo, more than 2 meters tall, bloodthirsty, has no limits, and works as a bounty hunter. Everything just like Lobo. They truly admitted that Bloodwolf was a copy of Lobo in the first issue of Bloodwolf, where you can see DC Comics Lobo in the background of the cover. But something they really got wrong with this copy is that they wanted to make Bloodwolf a parody character of DC's Lobo. However, DC's Lobo is already a parody of anti-heroes. They even copied that aspect. A character with zero originality is kinda boring. So it was obvious that this character wasn't going to be as successful as the original. All the conditions were set for Bloodwolf to fail. Oh, and by the way, Deadpool is obviously a much better copycat than Bloodwolf. They aren't even comparable. Just wanted to make that clear. I think that's enough of Image Comics for now, at least for me. But if you're still not tired and want to see more of Image Comics copycats, just click on the video that's showing up right now. I'll see you there.